Sri Ratna
Very early.
is tuning in. Vimakshaja.
Very good to see you all.
Maitri is tuning in. Mangala's here.
Mangala's there.
Shanti Ketu's here.
Some people have already left from here. We're in a city, that's good. Here. Dante Chitta's here. Apada's here.
Sanghajit's tuning
in from his tent. Abhayanandi and various others have gone already because they train with at 10 a.m.
Bhadra had to go. So some of the people who were doing the retreat from here. Who were doing solitaries. Oh, Sadhaloka's coming in.
Okay, so welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Really good to see you all. This is our final words from the retreat, really. It's been really, really lovely to be with you. And of course, we've chosen to host this last event from the retreat from Bantay's lounge. And we're sitting, both of us, of course, in front of Bantay's vacant chair. Personally, I still find it very moving coming into this room. I've come into this room so many times. So one of the shocks is seeing what Bhante sees, like seeing all the things that were in his eyesight. Where when I used to come into this room to say hello to Bhante and to go and talk to him, he seemed to fill the room. So I never looked around me very much. Anyway, it's very poignant being here with Bhante's empty chairs, everything left here just as it was when he died. So it's really, really. This feels like the right place to conclude the retreat. We've been exploring, I hope, these three great myths. We've been trying to find our way into the mysteries of the Dharma life and find our way how talking about mysteries can help and can also get us into trouble. But we have to, as Eliot famously said, you have to use words when I speak to you. So we've had to use words, but really we're always trying to explore the mystery of the Dharma life, and we've tried to do that, as fully as possible. And it feels, and my experience of that all comes pretty much from Bhante. I feel I have everything. I have every gratitude to Bhante. Don't know. I remember once, and quite one of the last times I saw him, I always used to hold his hand with both hands. That was just as affectionate as I could manage with Bhante. Once he did give me a great big hug, which I was completely shocked at. I was so surprised. And he suddenly was very appreciative. It was quite sure. And I remember just saying, look, Bhante, I want to say thank you one more time. I said, look, I just don't know what would have happened to me without you. And he said, oh, yes, it doesn't bear thinking about. Which is very funny and perfectly placed, And I roared with laughter, which he was very pleased about. The last time I saw him in here, I remember saying, oh, Bhante, do you remember when you did that drawing? And he kept saying, oh, no, I'd forgotten that. And then I just was reminding him of various things, all the time I'd known him by then, I don't know, 30 years or something, and, come and seen him, once or twice or three times a year, and just telling him lots of stories. And he really liked remembering all those things, just think, oh, yes, I'd forgotten that. Anyway, it's really lovely to be here again, with in front of the chair. It's very poignant to be in this room, and it does feel, doesn't it, the right place to conclude our explorations for now, at least. Explorations are never concluded. As I said at the start, we're thinkers without final thoughts. But what we're going to do just now is, Jan of Arch will just say a last few concluding remarks, and then I'll say just a few words of thanks. And then what we're going to do is then we'll sort of leave the live YouTube session, and we'll just have a brief reporting in from all of you on the retreat, but we won't have that obviously live on YouTube. So that's what we'll do. So welcome everyone who's tuning on YouTube live or in the future. welcome to Bantay's sitting room. The two of us sitting in front of Bantay's chair. So I'll hand over to Yonavot to say some last words.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's very good to be here. Out of camera shot, you can't see, but there's members of the Adhisthana community who have been on the retreat. There's Sadhan Andy, James and Caroline, who have been our tech support. Sangadeva's here, who's been on much of the retreat. Bodhi Ketu, who's been on all of the retreat, and Sadhaloka, who's been on the retreat, and of course, very kindly led our morning meditations. And Sanjay. Sanjay is we sort of brought an extra personal assistant with us, and, who we live with.
Keep him on as well.
And he's been practicing the myth of self-surrender at our instructions, under our guidance, which means fetching our meals and washing up for us. And he's done very well.
He's made progress.
He's made progress, that's what we keep saying.
And he can carry on because he'll be living with us. So there's so much scope for his practice. He's very pleased.
He's very
Doesn't
pleased.
always look pleased, but he is actually
He's
very pleased.
done very well.
I think we can go back to the self-discovery one, actually. I like that one.
And of course, Sanjay and James, who are here, would have been ordained had it not been for the pandemic. So for both of them, I think it's their first sort of order retreat that they've participated in. Very, very lovely to have all of you here. And yeah, for me, it's very lovely as well, just being in this space. Well, I mean, Adhisthana generally, it's been really delightful being here. So beautiful. And then to come in to Urgyen, the Urgyen Annex, as it's now called. Very, very lovely, very, very lovely. I last saw Bhante about 6 months before he died. It was in March, and I was about to go off on my long solitary retreat, and I'd come to get his blessings, ask for his blessings, see him in case I didn't see him again. And I was all in a bit of a fluster. I was late, my train was late. Anyway, he very kindly saw me, and we chatted about this and that. Mary Queen of Scots came up, who I know nothing about, but I've been to see a play about Mary and Elizabeth I. And I don't know, we started talking about how many husbands Mary had. And I got it wrong, and I'd seen the play. He corrected me and then told me where to read up on my history. And it was very, very sweet, very lovely. And then the last thing I said to him was, I asked for his blessings, and he just sort of looked at me, and the atmosphere changed, and suddenly it was more weighty. And he just looked at me and said, well, you've definitely got my blessings, Yonavacha, and you've had them in the past, and you'll have them in the future, which was just so delightful. And I feel blessed sitting here. And they weren't quite the final words that he said to me. I'd brought some Indian sweets for him that my sister had made, and his final words to me were, do remember to thank your sister. Yeah, very lovely being here. Anyway, very lovely to have you sort of join us here as well. And I just want to say what a delight it's been to have all of you on the retreat. And as Maitra Bandhu said, some of the people who have been here have had to leave. And I know some others have had to leave, mid-retreat. People have been trying to get on with their lives while tuning into this retreat, tuning into as much as they could. And then we've had messages of appreciation, some of them saying that they're going to catch up, on online later, on YouTube later, as well as all of you who have been joining in on YouTube. Very, very heartening, actually, to both Maitra Bandhu and I were extrovert thinkers, and actually without an audience, I don't know what I think. So it really helps to clarify our own thoughts. As Maitra Bandhu said, we're trying to write a book on this theme, so it's been very, very helpful for me. Yeah, as we've been talking each night and well on the retreat, so much has emerged that has been sort of new for us as well. And I think this theme just needs to sort of stay alive. I hope it stays alive in our discourse in the order. And I particularly feel that Subhuti has been remarkably far-sighted in his sort of uncanny genius-like way. You know, he wrote that article that we've been basing this retreat on in 2004. He gave the talk in 2003, and it feels more relevant than ever, this framework. And one of the things, I guess, that I didn't bring out last night, which I wish I had done a bit more clearly in the sort of conclusion, was that a point that Subhuti makes, which is that maybe it's obvious, but that we need all of these myths. We need all of them in our Dharma lives, even though one might be more prominent than another at one time or for one person. Because the front of each myth covers the back of the others, if you see what I mean. So you know, the back of self-development is, as it were, covered and compensated for, which isn't quite the right word, by self-surrender and self-discovery. And the back of self-surrender is compensated for by self-development and self-discovery, and the back of self-discovery by self-development and self-surrender. And if all three are in play in our Dharma lives, we're less likely to fall foul of the back of each myth, because there are correctives in our lives then. And I think that the correctives need to apply individually, and of course as a Sangha, because fashions change in the Sangha, and one myth might become more prominent for a while, and then you realize that it's got disadvantages and issues with it. And so as a Sangha, I think we need to keep them alive as well. And for me, it's been one of the wonderful things about this framework has been that it allows us to have a conversation that is both appreciative and critical. Well, at least I hope it does. I hope it does, rather than just critical. I think what I've done when I polarize, and what I've seen other people do, is that we've got our favorite myth, and we criticize the the disadvantages of the myth that we don't like, but we don't appreciate the front of it, if you see what I mean. And so it's very easy for two people to just criticize the backs of each other's myths, as it were, and it gets nowhere very productive, and somehow leaves people feeling more misunderstood and more sort of alienated from each other. So I hope that this framework has in it, I think it's got the seeds in it for a new way of talking with each other. Not exactly new, that sounds too grand, but it's got some hints as to how we might talk about different approaches to the Dharma life while remaining united as a Sangha and in harmony with each other. So I do feel very, very grateful to Subhuti for this. I did feel very nervous. I don't know if you're watching, Subhuti. I hope you're not. He said to me when I saw him just before the start of the retreat. He was at Adhisthana, and Maitrabandhu and I came up early, and he said he'd be watching. And I said, "Oh, please don't, please don't." And he did say that he was pleased that we were doing this retreat. So I felt a little bit relieved. You know how it is when it's a framework that he's really thought about, and then the two of us sort of pile in and make jokes about it. And you know, we haven't gone into as much depth. We haven't been as careful as Subhuti is in his writings. And so again, I'd really recommend, if you're interested in following this theme up, that you read Subhuti's article in Majjhimavani. It's available online. I think if you just type in the 3 myths Subhuti or something, it'll appear. Yeah, we've also been exploring the Lakshanas, inspired, both of us have been inspired by reading Seeing the Freeze by Rob Berbier. And as Maitreya Bandhu said, because we've both been sort of practicing with it, it's not always clear anymore what's our interpretation and what's his. But I do feel grateful to him for, in a way, pointing out how we can reflect on the Lakshanas in meditation, using all sorts of methods. We've just sort of chosen a few, haven't we? And I feel particularly, well, I want to just note that he died this year, just a few months ago. He was only 54, he was my age, and he, in the last few years of his life, had pancreatic cancer, I think, and it was, you know, it was a grueling few years. Anyway, so so yes, I just wanted to mention Rob Berbier, and yeah, I hope that we'll have the opportunity to, in a way, carry on exploring. One of the advantages of this online retreat has been, it's been so lovely to see all of you who, you know, are from far-flung places. And then one of the disadvantages, as Vilasani was saying, is that there isn't so much opportunity to dialogue. We've rather been quick to mute you all when we felt the want, as it were. So it'd be interesting to hear a little bit from each of you as to how you found the retreat. It'd be useful feedback for us as well. But maybe Maitreya Bandhu will say more about that. I don't know if you want to say anything more in conclusion.
No, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Good. Thank you, Yanavacha. Thank you.
Can I just say one more thing? One more thing is
Keep
that
your notebooks out.
yeah, one of the things that I think we were both aware of in talking about the myths and insight, and is what it leaves out, really, and it leaves out so much of the Dharma life as Bante's taught it and shown it and lived it. It leaves out friendship and sangha and community and lifestyle, and it particularly can leave out, although it, of course it implies it, it leaves out beneficial activity, bodhisattva activity. And I think that Bante's sort of foregrounded that, and I hope that we can remember that insight isn't, in a way, it can't be just for oneself. If it isn't for a larger context, then what is it for? I also just really wanted to say how much I've appreciated Maitreya Bandhu's friendship. You know, you've talked about your struggles with meditation. To me, you've been an exemplar of beneficial activity. Maitreya Bandhu's teaching and his writings, prose and poetry, well, it pains me to say it, have
mention poetry.
Have had a huge effect on so many people's lives. I mean,
poetry.
Not the poetry, all right, not the poetry. Anyway, his Dharma teaching on thousands and thousands of people. It's very, very evident. And what I want to particularly say is that you've had a huge effect on my life. And I wouldn't be the man I am without Maitreya Bandhu's friendship, brotherhood, Kalyana Mitrata. And this retreat wouldn't have happened without him, nor the book.
The book hasn't happened.
The book hasn't happened. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say.
That's very kind. Thank you. Yeah, I want to start off by thanking you, Yanavacha. Yeah, Yanavacha, as you've seen, has got this incredible capacity to think deeply, to feel strongly, to look up to the vision, to think about it deeply without kind of fairly and justly. I think you've really brought so much of your incredible qualities of, it's so unusual. Most people who have touches of wisdom usually aren't very warm. It so easily doesn't go together, but with the art of archery, if you've seen, it really does, doesn't it? You've got this large heart and you've got this clear seeing. So I personally benefited from my friendship with the art of archer more than I can say, more than I can say. Yeah. So I want to just thank everyone. Particularly wanted to thank everyone here at Adhisthana. It's been lovely to be here, and the weather has blessed us. I felt very much in Bantay's presence. You do feel that when you come to Adhisthana. I hope you can feel that even through the screen, Bantay's presence and the presence of his vision here and a sangha of friends here. It's very, very striking coming here. And it's not been easy for them. You know, this lockdown period has not been easy for anyone, but it's not been easy for everyone here. So I particularly want to thank Sadhanandi, the chair. She's a remarkable, quiet presence in the background always. She's always positive, it seems to me. And she's just such a delight, and she's given so much. And then I want to thank Sadhaloka, for instance, for leading the meditations in the morning and just being there on the retreat. Sometimes slightly worrying because he's quite difficult to read, Sadhaloka.
Impossible.
So one is talking and he's looking at you, you're thinking, is he thinking this is nonsense? He doesn't give much away. He'd be very good at poker. It was really lovely to have Sadhaloka here. Really, I want to really thank James and Caroline, particularly for all the tech. The tech side of these things actually, gosh, it can be as much of a headache, more of a headache than anything. And it's been lovely that we haven't had to think about that. Sanjay's not even had to think about it that much, have you?
No.
I don't think so. I haven't seen you thinking about it that much. So thank you very much, James and Caroline, who have really made it all flow and made it work. Yeah. So yeah, thank you to everyone. Yes, thank you. We're very pleased to have been here. So what we're going to do in a moment is we're going to switch off the YouTube channel. There's not a nice way of, we need to find a nice way of saying that. But before that, I want to say something again about giving. You know, I know it has been difficult for all of us, this lockdown period, and we seem to be going into another period of uncertainty. We don't really know. And winter starts to feel around the corner, and there'll be new challenges, new difficulties. But yes, Adhisthana, as you can imagine, is losing a lot of money. 20 or 30,000 a month was what we were talking about, something like that. A lot of money. Well, we really need Adhisthana. The movement really needs Adhisthana. So if you have given already, that's really wonderful. Thank you very much for that. Thank you, all of you, for giving. If you can give more, that would be wonderful as well, obviously. If you haven't given yet, do give. So it's just so important what Adhisthana is trying to do, reaching out. And there's new opportunities for Adhisthana, like this retreat, so that we can make jokes with Dan Chitta across the world, you know, from Bantay's living room. So there's also lots of opportunities that this difficult situation is creating, and with funds we can make a lot of those opportunities. But you know, opportunities need revenue to make use of. So do give if you possibly can. I know it's been people are worried themselves about their own financial security, but certainly it's concerning about Adhisthana. So do give. Yeah. Good. Have I left anything else? I usually do. No, I left anything else. Thank you for everyone for being on the retreat. And then we're now going to say goodbye to those of you on YouTube. And then what we'll do now is just briefly hear back from everybody who's still on the retreat. A good few people have needed to leave for various reasons and are going to watch it following on, but we'll hear from each of you and then we'll finish. So let's turn the YouTube off. that off?
It's delayed.
It delays,
But
yeah. Must be a nice way of saying that. Okay. So let's start at the top left on our screen. So Shrivati, would you like to say it? Don't be alarmed. I can't read all the names.
How long shall I take? A minute or two? Or